IVM.
Here's an unpopular opinion. I feel online fitness is better than offline fitness. There. I said it. I genuinely feel online fitness is much better. Now, of course, the takers of offline fitness would say that, you know what, offline fitness is much better, you have better awareness, you are more responsible, it's much safer. And of course, I hear you. I understand those arguments and I understand where you're coming from. But the reason why I'm saying online fitness is much better is because it's more convenient. We live in a society where fitness is not a priority. You won't wake up in the morning being all charged up, having your morning brew, and then go out to the gym, have an empty gym, work out over there, kill your workout for an hour, then come back, shower, and then go to your office happy and smiling. That is the ideal world. But we do not live in an ideal world. Ideal world is you can't wake up in the morning because you had a late night. You might be working or you were Netflixing or you had a party or whatever. So you missed out your morning alarm. Your coffee was shit. You went to the gym somehow. The gym was overcrowded. You came back. You're late for the office. And it kind of demotivated you to go back to the gym. And that is a problem that is being solved by online fitness. I have been coaching people in the last 2 years remotely via Zoom, and I have found the level of consistency amongst people to be the highest because of the community factor, because of the convenience factor, and because of the quality. And this particular conversation with Ekta, who is now a startup owner, is going to be touching upon all these little nuances, the difference between the online fitness and the offline fitness and other things. So, if you enjoyed this conversation, let me know your take on online versus offline. Let me know how it was. See you. Hello and welcome to Raw and Organic Podcast. This is your host Kunal Rajput, and today we are going to be speaking to a very interesting guest. She's the founder of women's wellness app called as Savage, which is due to launch in December. She has been a content product professional for the last decade and have worked across industries like entertainment, news, fashion, edtech, and health tech. With Savage, her mission is to empower women with lifestyle health solutions that work while keeping the physiology in mind. I really hope that I actually did justice to this introduction. If not, Ekta, can you please introduce yourself in 90 seconds?
Great. Thanks, Kunal. No, I think that was great. I think, my name is Ekta and I come with a decade of experience in content product. Like you rightly mentioned, I've worked across multiple industries, but health and fitness is something that's been very close to my heart for a really long time, primarily since I was 12. So, always very curious about how to learn different formats of workout or how typically our body works. I think somewhere deep down, I wanted to be a doctor just to dissect my body and dissect everyone's body. That didn't happen. But, here I am building something that's relevant in that space. Of course, not as great as a doctor, but yeah, something close that can, help millions of Indian women feel healthier and happier. So yeah, that's about me.
And that's amazing. And Ekta Tibrewal, if I'm pronouncing the name right,
That's
is
right.
our guest today. And she is, I think Ekta and I go back a couple of years ago when she scouted me, if I'm not wrong, for this health and wellness company. And we kind of like started working together, and but that didn't kind of like pan out. And now Ekta has moved on from that health and wellness company and she has started her own app. So congratulations on that.
Thank you so much, Kunal. Yeah, I think this was right at the beginning, or maybe like 2 months before the pandemic, right? If I'm not wrong.
Just 2 months.
Yeah.
Just 2 months.
Yeah.
March 2020 is when I flew to Bangalore, and I thought that my life is going to change. And you know what? It actually changed. So,
No, I think, and I'd say it changed for the better. And I mean, look at you. I mean, doing crazy, crazy, amazing stuff with Unlock. I mean, I know so many friends and, folks who swear by it. So definitely, one of the top health and fitness trainers out there who I think a lot of people swear by. And I think a lot of people have seen a change in their health, I think, at least, especially because it was in the middle of the pandemic, I think. So, I think a lot of people benefited from that. So I think congratulations to you too. I think you've actually made an impact. I'm yet to make one, but congratulations to you. You've actually changed lives of hundreds and thousands of people. So, something to be very, very proud of.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Like, I can't take compliments well, but thank you so much. And I will go back and I will come back to you because this podcast is all about you and getting your brains of conversations, which are really going to help listeners from all walks of life in terms of their entrepreneurial journey, their fitness journey, or just getting a nice grasp of what's happening in the fitness industry. So, Ekta, let's just start with your background in health and wellness. How did you start and what you have been doing before Savage?
Yeah, so I think I'm going to go a little back, maybe just to give you a little context on why I'm even, here, or why do I, I'm even building a women's health app. I think it all started when I think I was 10-year-old. My parents have been obese. We come from a family where obesity is very genetic in our family. And as a kid, my biggest fear, especially a girl who's like on the close to teenage years, was that I'm going to end up being fat. And what I did was I was obsessed with the way I looked, and not in a good way, because I always felt I looked like shit. And what I did was I started over exercising, which meant that I would probably try going to the gym at an age of 10 and work out on my own with machines, which was obviously not something I should have done ever. But I did that for like 2 hours in the day and then go play a sport in school. I used to play throw ball and football in school. So I used to go and do that. And obviously my body was like all over the place, right? Because excessiveness of everything is not good. And typically women in the age group of 12 to 13 do not get their periods very easily, at least not back in, I mean, now it's very common, but none of my friends ever got their periods at that age. But I got my first period when I was 12. And I obviously knew what it was because my mom had obviously told me enough about it. But soon after my first period, I didn't get my periods for like 5-6 years in life. And I was clueless. I went to the doctor and the doctor said it's very normal. These things happen. I continued with my life of 4 hours of exercising, 3 hours of exercising and things like that. I don't know how I did it, but yes, that happened. And then very late in life, I realized that my body actually got altered, or my hormonal system got altered primarily because of over exercising. And only when I was like, I think 15, when my lifestyle changed a little bit, where I couldn't work out a lot and had to focus more on my exams because of STEM standard and stuff like that, that's when my periods became regular and they actually came back to normality. Now, as a kid, I loved it that I didn't have my periods. But, when I now know what I know, I think if that phenomenon had continued over a really long time, I would have been probably in a bad shape, from a health and body perspective. But that said, I think body dysmorphia is something that I've struggled with for a really large part of my life and continue to struggle with in some bits and pieces. But it's taken me a while to kind of understand that health and fitness in general should always be about feeling good and not always be about looking good. I'm not saying that they don't go hand in hand. I think looking good is a very important part of feeling good. But I feel like, the whole narrative around health and fitness, and that's just not in India. I think even if you look at products in West, it's always about having that beach body, bikini body, and things like that, right? And it's about time we change the mindset that beach body is not a happy body or a healthy body, or a bikini body is not a happy body or healthy body. I think feeling happy, feeling fit, having enough energy, feeling good just comes in naturally. If you enjoy the meal that you eat, and it could be a simple homemade roti, sabzi, dal, chawal, sabzi, or it could be anything else, I think it nourishes your body in a very different manner versus you eating something and like really being hard on yourself. Similarly, when you work out, it's not about like, the prescriptive method of just doing 50 to 60-minute workout. If you do a great 30-minute workout and you're fully focused and in the zone with your workout, I feel that is far more useful than anything else, right? And this obviously comes from a personal experience where I would do 60-minute, 70-minute workout, but I would feel crabby all through the day, where I would be so pissed and irritated. And I used to always wonder that where is that dopamine rush that everybody keeps talking about? Because I'm clearly not feeling it, right? I'm feeling the exact opposite. And, for me, these things were very fascinating, right? My whole journey of losing my cycles, the whole journey of coping with body dysmorphia, the whole journey of now understanding that feeling good is more important than looking good. I felt like for the longest time, I felt I was the only one who felt that way. But obviously, for the last 2 years, I've gotten to meet so many women, so many people, in fact, and even men for that matter, right, who struggle through these same things, but they just don't have the right solution because, like I said, the whole narrative around health and fitness is about having the perfect body, right? And I don't know what the perfect body is. I think every shape is a shape, and perfect body is how you feel, right? If you feel happy and healthy, that is the most important thing. And that's what led me to kind of go much deeper and think much deeper and really understand that what is feeling good feels like, right? And that's where the whole thought process or the narrative comes from, that I just want people to feel good versus always focusing on looking good.
But then after coming to this realization, which is like a very rare realization because a lot of people don't get that kind of exposure to other people, and they don't have those kind of conversations with first themselves and other people, that they realize that they have body dysmorphia, or they have been like working too much, or their perceived notion of fitness is completely wrong, or the perceived physicality that they have been wanting is basically a made up version that the society has created. So for those people who don't have that kind of conversations, I think it's going to be like a learning curve, and companies like Savage, Unlock, and other people are going to, hopefully they will go around educating masses, Indian masses, and go about it. But one thing remains unanswered over here is like, how did you come into this entire ecosystem at a professional place?
Yeah, so I born brought up in Bombay, but I moved to Bangalore like I think 3 years ago. And before that also I was very keen on working with a health and fitness company. There weren't much on radar at that point of time because I was working in startups and I was keen on working with a startup. There was only one meaningful health and fitness company at that point of time. And I was very clear that I don't want to work anywhere else but there, because like I said, I was hungry to learn more and know about this space. And, it made complete sense for me at that point of time. So yeah, that happened through that. And then, I was there for almost like 2.5 years. I helped them kind of set up their entire digital business, which was primarily a content-led health and fitness business. Grew it massively in the middle of the pandemic. That's also how we eventually got to work with each other, considering that, the pre-pandemic discussions didn't pan out. But yeah, that's how we got to work with each other. And, that was a very interesting and, insightful journey, because it gave me a lot more confidence on how the health and fitness industry in general is going to evolve, right? Because pandemic obviously changed all our lives in so many ways, right? The way we consume content, the way we consume health and fitness, the way we take care of ourselves has changed so much. And what it also made me realize was a massive opportunity that's underlying in a country like ours, right? And simple example, fitness penetration in the US is 21%. Fitness penetration in India is 0.15%. So we've got miles to go. We have a large market that's, thriving and looking for health and fitness solutions that kind of work for them. But, the existing stuff that exists out there is either very cookie cutter in some sense, and they don't really tend to give you what people typically look for as results. And they seem very intimidating in some ways, right? People are not the most comfortable and excited to, dress up in their best and go to the gym, right? It's always a very scary, eerie feeling, especially if you've not gone to one. So I think, digital unlocks that kind of massive accessibility, massive affordability, massive reach, and just that sense of privacy, right? Like all you got to do is get out of your bed, roll out a mat, don't even have to worry what you're wearing. Of course, ideal to wear the right workout gear and work out, but you just don't have to worry, right? You don't have to worry about being judged. You don't have to worry about space, privacy. You don't have to worry about travel, any of those things, right? It's just all on a phone, which you probably use like 8 to 9 hours of your day, and it's all right there. So, it's so much more convenient, so much more easier. And this is the best way to reach out to people who obviously don't have access to great types of gym or great trainers, right? And with all due respect, I think in a country like us, we have a massive set of very talented coaches and trainers. But I think a large part of it is also very prescriptive, and it takes a lot of, introspection, research, upskilling to kind of understand that what is the right way to coach a person. And if you just look at the business sense of gyms, right? If they kind of get coaches like that, those businesses will be hard to scale. I mean, I fundamentally believe that gyms are designed for, like, especially large scale gyms are designed for people to fail, right? Because first you take a gym membership, then you go there, then you feel completely and utterly lost. Then you either find a personal trainer. Now that personal trainer is equally as disinterested in your life as disinterested, or maybe you are, about your own things. And then, it's a vicious cycle. You don't like it, then you don't show up. And then, that gym membership goes waste. I mean, every gym, in my opinion, might probably be overcapacitated in terms of memberships that they've sold. Then they can actually accommodate, because they just know that, a large number of people might actually not even show up. So it's pretty fascinating when you read this data. Even when you look at reports in the US, it's pretty similar over there. So I think what's very fascinating is that digital is just so much more accessible, right? And, when you make it interesting, fun, result driven, and, you give it a fresh approach, I think people are ready for something like that now more than ever.
Yeah. One thing which I've been wondering is, after this entire pandemic period kind of like gets over, right? A conversation that always is taking place more regularly than ever is say, for example, Unlock, because it's only online based fitness platform now. Is it going to like thrive the way that it's been thriving earlier? Because everything that you said, keeping in mind that, okay, you haven't like targeted literally 99% of the entire population. The audience isn't mature enough to understand what else is. So we need educating. They don't get access to good coaching in the gyms around their vicinity. They don't have structure. They don't have feasibility. Plus, they don't have time. And online platform gives them the convenience of like just rolling over the bed and like just starting to work out. And that's the best thing that you need in terms of fitness in general. But the conversation that always goes on hand in hand is like, okay, is it still going to thrive the way it's supposed to be thriving right now? Or what is the future of the online segment in this entire ecosystem? Because a lot of people perceive workout as a community-based activity, because they want to go out, they want to meet people, they want to talk to each other, they want to like spend time and stuff like that. And I know, like in general sense, fitness is not that. Fitness is supposed to be fun. Fitness is, of course, supposed to be something which is like going to help them get better physically and mentally and something like that. But at the same time, people want that. And massive amounts of population right now who's exposed to fitness really want to go out and meet people. So how do you counter that conversation while making sure that, online, your particular brand is going to thrive in a place where everything is opening up?
Yeah, I think that's a very valid point, and I think something that we discuss very often as well. But and I genuinely think that there is space for a hybrid sort of an experience where there might be a few sprinkle of offline interactions and things like that, combined with online training, because feasibility of actually going somewhere and training with a group of people is always going to be hard unless and until you find the right set of people who you vibe with and they are in the same area and they all can show up, right? I think that's fundamentally, especially if you look at urban India, right? That's very hard. People live very busy lives. So to find that time dedicatedly to show up every day is always going to be harder. And I think that's where I come from. I feel like, do people want social interactions? Yes. But does that social interaction necessarily have to be offline now? I don't think so, because I think the last 1.5 years have changed us, right? Like, I mean, I can't tell you the number of Zoom wedding receptions I've been to, or prayer meetings I've gone to, and Zoom birthday parties I've done, right? And it's just such a convenient way to stay connected. In fact, I feel like there were people who I connected with during the pandemic online through Zoom calls or Hangouts and stuff like that, who I haven't connected for years because I just couldn't find the time to meet them. It was too inconvenient to actually find time and go meet them. So it was just so much easier to just like do a quick FaceTime call or a Hangout or a Zoom call and just meet and celebrate someone's birthday who I've not spoken to for like 5 years. So I think while, we always talk about the power of actual offline meeting, I think, online has a power of bringing people together much better and much more often compared to offline, because offline still requires an effort, right? You still have to worry about what you wear. You still have to take that car out and, drive or hail a cab or a rickshaw or whatever it is, right? It's still an effort. And unless and until you're having a massively amazing time where you're working out, you will be after a point not willing to put in that same effort, because let's be honest, right? I mean, we know our health and fitness should be our number one priority, but it's not in the larger scheme of things.
Yeah.
A night of, going out or something in the day is a little more important. And sometimes we prioritize those over that, 1 hour or whatever time that we work out for ourselves. So it's the truth, right? And I feel like online in that sense works very beautifully because it slides into your schedule without, making a lot of changes and without a lot of inconvenience. But of course, I think in general, I think we are social animals and social beings. We love meeting people and seeing people. So I think there's space for a hybrid sort of a thing where, a product can be completely online, but might have some sprinkles of like meetups and things like that. I think you just did that with Unlock, right? So I think that's a good example that, people actually offline socially got to meet each other. The community got to know each other better. And I think that is what might work. I think on a day-to-day basis, I fundamentally think it's going to be very hard because, like I said, I think lives are just so much more busier that, just going out and anything that requires massive effort is not sustainable, in my opinion.
Yeah. And like to add to that, I think I have been a first seater in this particular, in this entire observation, because for those of you who have no idea, I used to have these offline sessions in Bandra, and then Juhu, and then Santa Cruz, and then Kandivali. These are like the suburbs of Bombay. And we used to cater to like 80, 85 people per batch, per location. And one particular thing, and it was like the best workout that you'll ever do. Like I literally used to sell it like it's the best workout that you'll ever do. That was the tagline. Like it's the best session ever. But one thing which I've realized that there was a trend, and the trend was very undulating in terms of how people used to participate. They always used to be like some people showing up for a month or two, then they used to like fall off the bandwagon, then they used to come back again, or some people used to just show up for a particular set of like workouts and then they used to like skip and other things. And that made me realize that, workout, as much as it is a priority for me, but it is not going to be a priority for everyone, because everybody lives a life of going out. Everybody wants social interaction, and not in terms of like working out itself. They want to like just let go. They want to let their hair loose. They want to go out party. They want to meet other people for dinner, go on dates and stuff like that. And workout is taxing. It takes a lot of effort, as Ekta rightly said. And then online model, I was focusing completely with the online model with Unlock. And then I just saw a massive window of opportunity where, I wanted to make sure that people are meeting and people are like talking to each other rather than like just looking at each other via the Zoom screen.
Yeah.
And that's why we planned the social parties. And that is how it started. And now we are doing the hybrid model. So once a day of the week, we go to different cities and we have limited slots where people have to like go in type of finding the slots and stuff like that. And they want to like, if they want to be a part of it, they can actually be a part of it. And it's been working wonderfully. We have had the same number of people, the same number of participants, the same number of enthusiasm now with the community. And let's see how it goes. But as per your point, I really wanted to add this particular thing of my personal experience, and it has been going crazy. So
I think you must have also seen like a massive difference in consistency, right? Because like you rightly pointed out, in offline, when you start something, the first 2-3 weeks are like massive peak, right? You'll try and show up every single day. And then that one slip happens and the curve goes down, right? And then that slip goes down. And then you feel like, okay, it's going to be okay if I miss one more. It's going to be okay if I miss one more. But online, it's just so much easier because the chances of slipping itself is much lower, unless, of course, it's your own motivation, right? And I think when you do and build products that are very community-led, even online, you can stop that curve or that drop to happen, because that motivation and accountability makes it fun, right?
Exactly.
So now you have even fewer excuses to not show up, because you don't have to travel anywhere. You don't have to wake up like 2 hours early to get to the gym and figure your life out. You just need to do it in your house. So what's your excuse to not show up? You literally just have to show up. That's it.
And plus the convenience. I mean, you can actually access the workouts at any time.
Yeah.
You have an app, you have Zoom links, you have recorded sessions, you have multiple sessions going through the day, and you have like so many people doing it with you. So you always have a reason. And plus, I am like one of those bitchy coaches where I keep taunting them like, "Acha, okay, this is what you're doing. This is when you're not showing up after doing all these things." So that speaks volumes about your personality and all those things. So like I literally make sure that in the first week itself, I am one of those nagging uncles or aunts who's like going to make sure that people realize how easy it is for them to skip, but they don't want to skip because
yeah, absolutely with you on that. I think the whole narrative about, like I was saying, the whole health and fitness narrative has always been about, it is taxing, but if you build a solution, right, and something very similar to what you are doing with Unlock, what we're trying to do with Savage, is that the entire concept around health and fitness is you just need to show up. We've taken care of everything under the sun, right? You don't have to worry about what you're going to do in your workout today. You don't have to worry about what are you wearing. You don't have to worry about anything. You are going to have fun. You're going to just follow along with what we're telling you to do it. And you're going to have a great time, and you're going to feel good at the end of it, right? It's all about showing up, and maybe you cannot do 20, push-ups, and maybe you can do just 18. That's all right. But you showed up, and that speaks volumes about how you care about yourself. And this is the least you can do for your own body. Your body is your temple. I mean, that's the first thing you have to take care of. And by just showing up, you acknowledge that, and, you celebrate your unique body. So I think that makes complete sense. You should be nagging to just ask them to show up.
Yeah. And I really want to like speak a lot more about this particular topic, but we have to take a commercial break. Can you imagine? We have a commercial break in my podcast, which is so cool. And we'll come back and we'll speak in length about Savage, the women's fitness, your research about this entire topic, about how women's fitness is fairly different from normal male dominant or like the gendered fluid fitness that we always have been following, what the idea of Savage is and how it is going to go about it, and other things. But we are going to come back in a minute. So stay tuned, guys.
Hey, it's been another great week on the IVM Podcast Network. From Jeff Bezos to Amitabh Bachchan, everyone has tasted failure, but they don't give up. On Probation Se Promotion Tak, Abhinav talks about failure and how to use it as a stepping stone towards your goals. On a show about crypto, Rohan and Jaspreet Bindra, founder of the Tech Whisperer, debate whether blockchain could be considered socialist in nature. On The Longest Constitution, Priya Mirza sheds light on untouchability in the workplace with the help of Article 17. Witness the liberation of Bangladesh in the season finale of War and Warriors as narrated by Air Vice Marshal Arjun Subramaniam. And on Audiogan, Kedar is joined by writer Himali Kothari. They talk about Project 87. This project focuses on English language plays from India. Do follow us on social media. We're IVM Podcast on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. And remember, if you're enjoying this show or any of our other shows for that matter, please do tell a friend. Go check out our YouTube channels. We go live on a whole bunch of different things. We have a number of different channels. You can find them on ivmpodcast.com/YouTube. And finally, we'd like to thank our sponsors this week: Cred, Bank of Baroda, CoinSwitch Kuber, Intel, and Oxfam India. Thank you for making this possible.
Welcome back to Raw and Organic. We are in this amazing conversation with Ekta. Ekta, tell us about your entire research for the last 2 years that you've been doing for Savage and the idea of Savage in general. What is it going to be? How is it going to be? And why is it there?
Yeah, I think I'm going to start with the why. That's my favorite way of approaching anything. Like I mentioned in the beginning, right? I've had my own struggles with my own body and saw a lot of complications in my menstrual health perspective, as far as health and fitness came. So obviously that was the starting point, and that was my why, that why did I go through that I went through, and why was there nothing or no one telling me what to do? And that stemmed from that. Of course, in the last couple of years when I was working in the health and fitness company, it was again a very general health and fitness company, focused on general health and fitness solutions. But the more and more women I spoke with in terms of customers or even friends and women around me, I realized that it was just generally very hard for them to continue and stay consistent with things. And I think there are 2, 3 core factors around it. One, of course, like I said, I think fundamentally women's bodies are very different from men's bodies. Both physiologically, our endocrine systems are different, our body cycle and body clocks are different. So that's part one. Part two, I also feel, is a function that women go through a whole bunch of life stages that alter the way they feel, the way they look, and their bodily functions and their hormonal systems, right from menstruation to PCOD to menopause to postpartum and prenatal, if a woman chooses to go through one of those stages. But yeah, I mean, that's where our bodies get like massively altered, right? And it's not all physical, it's also mental, it's also hormonal, and it's also various other things, right? And the third part is that, when it comes to motivation, right, which is the biggest barrier to health and fitness, I think when it comes to women, our motivation levels are also in some way affected by the environment that we are in, right? So the environmental factors also have a role to play. And you'll typically see this in a life of a mother who typically would have a kid, house, everything to look into. And, in order of priority, at most days, she will probably put herself last. And that's something that you'll see in every Indian household, right? And I sometimes see, for the longest time, I used to do that too, right? Like, just for an example, I'm at home right now for the festivities, and there are multiple things that need to be done. And the first thought that I thought yesterday was, what, maybe I'm not going to work out because I'm going to have an overwhelming day. And then I was like, no, I can't compromise on that, I have to work out. But that's the thought process. So our environmental factors play a very important role in our motivation level to actually take care of our bodies. And that led me to kind of research further and see that how typically like people like women athletes are trained, right? Because that requires serious determination and working through phases of your cycle where you're not feeling your best. And that's when I came up with a very interesting research about by this doctor called Dr. Stacey Sims. And her entire research, and she's been doing a lot of research in this space primarily on women's health, her whole thesis was that for the longest time women have been trained under the assumption that women's bodies are just that of a small man. So the assumption that any trainer makes for the longest time when it comes to training women, they just think that women are smaller versions of men. And whatever you're training a man as, you maybe notch it down a little bit, and then you train the same way you would train a smaller man. And that's how you train a woman. And when I saw that and read that, I first obviously felt furious and angry because I don't think, we deserve to be small men. And I'm obviously like not like some crazy, obsessed person and go on the extremities. But I was just furious because I just felt like I think that both the genders are very individual and unique, and they have very different body system. And that's basic general knowledge anyone would know, right? So it kind of infuriated me first. And I was like, wow, what the hell is happening? And why has no one ever told me about this? And when you read further, you just realize that there are layers of women's health which are just never understood by many coaches. And I'm not saying it's just the male coaches, it's also the female coaches. In fact, I would say that large number of women who I know don't even know that women go through a 28-day or a 4-phase cycle, right? Most women think that when you use the word cycle, it's only menstruation. So the whole narrative around women's health and fitness is so poorly researched and so poorly represented that I felt like if someone doesn't do this soon, I think the next set of generations will also continue going through conditions and issues that they just don't have enough knowledge about and enough awareness about. And that might not serve anyone well, because let's be honest, I mean, I generally feel like we run the world, and we also happen to be largely the caretakers of families and households. And if we don't know how to take care of our body and work in tune with our hormones, then how are we ever going to take care of anyone else, or even like be at our best potential? And that's what, if you look at athletes and sports person, they are trained to understand much, much better. They're taught to train in tune with their physiology, which is so unique to us. They're taught to train on things like how to train on your menstruation cycle, how to understand when are your great days, when are your poor days, when are your days where you can really push yourself, and then when are the days that you just need, your body needs a downturn. It's a sign that it needs to calm down. Another important thing is that, there's just been so much stigma around periods. Like, ask 5 women and they'll all say that I hate my periods. But our periods are such a powerful thing. They are the single most consistent and accurate indicators of our health in general. And we should all feel very lucky about it as women that, if we get a period, and it's actually not women, right? Even trans, just in general, right? The whole idea is that your periods is such an important aspect of your health. It's such an important signal showing that you're feeling good and your body is working fine. And every time your period goes off, it's a sign that something is off. And it might not always be major, but it's a sign. And imagine how amazing it is to have that sign, right? A lot of people don't even know what's happening with their body over a period of time. But, as women, we have that superpower of a quick indicator or a quick, test that kind of just tells us that, hey, your body's doing fine. You're fine. Your cycles are regular. You're getting them month on month. There's nothing abnormal about them. But one cycle that goes off, you just know that something is off. It's a sign of so many things. So I think all of these things are things that I have learned in the last 2.5 years. And I obviously am not the expert and I've got miles and miles more to learn. But I feel like from whatever I've learned, if I can help, even like 100 women just understand this and really understand their own physiology and feel proud about their bodies, I think I would have done something meaningful in my life. I think for me, the biggest goal is to make an impact and help people not go through the same mistakes that I've made with my body and my health. And if I can help like 100 women also even do that, I think for me, I count that as success. And that's how the entire Savage thought process came to being, because I just felt like, one, there is a massive need for dialogue around women's health now more than ever. We're a little too late, but so be it, right?
Better late than never.
Let's start somewhere. So, I think that, and we are like, we represent half the world's population, right? So we deserve our, share of care and right healthcare solutions for our bodies. So I think that's part one. And, part two is that I think we've just made this whole idea about health and fitness so tedious. I just want to break that tediousness around it and make it seem like this is you, this is for you, and this is your way of prioritizing you, right? Think of it like a you time. We all talk about it, and this is the you time we all need and we all deserve. And as women, as life and everything will come in the way, but your health is sacrosanct and that should be your number one priority. So that's where all of it stems from. That's what Savage is all about. Our whole philosophy behind Savage is that we think all women are queen at any given stage in their life. They're savage every day, and savage is a way of life, and savage is a way of being. And through Savage, we just want to ensure that at any stage of life that a woman is, she has the right solution. She's empowered with the right knowledge, and she's empowered with the right way of taking care of herself without any judgment, but actually powered through, with a strong community support, through a program that's created with the right set of experts who understand women's body and women's health. And that's how we want to empower them to be happier, healthier versions of themselves, right? We are not in the business of telling them that, be bikini body or be beach body or have six pack or any of those things. So very rarely will you ever see, I don't think I would ever do a program on beach body and bikini body on Savage ever. But our whole idea is powering through different conditions, right? And really learning to understand your body and working in sync with your mind and body more than always focusing on look how, sexy I look, or look, I've got the beach body. And, it's all about just the way I look and how I can fit in that dress,
First of all, congratulations on that. I think a country needs it. I think the world needs it right now. Creating awareness, educating, and having that dialogue, as you rightly said, is very important in understanding that not everything that is going around the town is for everyone. You need to make sure that your perception towards a certain thing can always be clouded. and might have a lot of noise or might have a lot of adulteration in the way that you perceive things. And what you're doing right now is, I think it's a phenomenal thing. So congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Fun fact, when I was in Nike, which is like, it's when I was in the Nike training, the train the trainer camp, I was 23 back then. I'm 29. I'm being one of the only, I am the only male Nike coach in this country, and have been this in the last 6 years now. Wow. But this is one thing which I've realized way back then, that they are so different in the way that they end up functioning. When I'm talking about I'm talking about like the brand itself and the way that they perceive women's fitness. Of course, Nike calls everybody who has a body as an athlete, but
Yes.
they have always been making sure that they keep a open perception towards fitness.
Yeah.
That there is no body type, that fit is never going to be a body type. It's always going to be something that you're very happy about. And that the one thing that you said earlier, which is like, perfection is something that you're very happy about. A perfect body is what you're happy about. And that kind of like stayed with me. Coming back to this thing, and I am one of those coaches that you were talking about who don't have that kind of necessary knowledge in terms of how the training pattern is going to be very different in terms of like men and women, because in Unlock we still have that kind of dialogue, but it's more or less towards the entire community, where we make people realize that it's not only about fat loss, it's not only about like muscle gain, it's also about like understanding how far you've come in the entire journey. Of course, the way that we end up reaching a certain point, which is like at a higher fitness level, is together, which is going to be similar to men and women, but we don't consider them as like small men. We consider them as much more powerful, to be honest, because they have higher endurance to pain. They can push longer. Physiologically, they are made to make sure that they can actually work a lot more than men. Men can be
Absolutely
powerful in terms of creating that short burst of energy and have a good amount of like muscle mass, and they can actually do a good amount of strength work. When it comes to endurance work, when it comes to like a lot of cardio work, women can beat them hands down. And that is one thing which I've realized in general population itself. But that has been my particular observation. In terms of like Savage and its own workout programs and other things, are the workouts going to be completely different, or it's just the sense of the community that you're going to create in terms of like educating them and telling them that, okay, you know what, this is the dialogue that you're supposed to have. This is what is okay, and you should be accepting it. Or you are going to change the entire narrative and you're going to make sure that, you know what, this is the different kind of workout patterns that you should be following, or how is it going to be?
Yeah, I think, we're more on the lines of changing the narrative, to be fairly honest, because I think, like I said, I think the bigger agenda goal is to help women understand their bodies and understand how to train in sync with their bodies, right? And it's just a basic concept of understanding that. And that typically comes from a change in narrative and not just, having a community that talks about it. So the idea is to actually create programs that are specifically focused on women's health and workouts that work better for women. Like you rightly said, right? We have massive endurance, massive ability to work out on certain things. And, simple example, we have great lower body strength because just biologically we are built in that way, in case we decide to become mothers or decide to bear a child. So, just understanding these things about our body physically, and then also understanding our hormonal system, which is, the different phases of our cycles, and also understanding that, we have multiple barriers around us, but there is a way to fight through those barriers. And that's where the community comes in. But the whole idea is that, we deserve a training method, or at least a crash course of sorts, or a boot camp of sorts, into just understanding how our body works. And then I think there's nothing stopping anyone to go into a general fitness program. But if you're just completely unaware, right, I feel like sustainability will always be a challenge because you just don't understand your body. When you understand your body, you can do anything and everything. And I think our whole narrative is that we want to help you understand your body. And that can never come through an educative, course. It has to come from a practical experience, right? And that's what we're striving for. We want to create those practical experiences that help women understand their bodies better. That's one. And look, I think general fitness is great, right? And I think it's so important on a day-to-day basis. But when women hit these life stages, general fitness sometimes just doesn't work, right? Because it's maybe not the right thing that is for them. Like if a woman who's just delivered a baby and most women just think about primarily the postpartum weight loss, but there's just so much more to her health at that point of time. And doing certain kinds of exercises might actually become a challenge for her or might cause more damage. And, someone needs to understand that and say that, look, I have thought this through. I understand that this is what your body's going to be like in the postpartum stage. And this is the right thing to do for you, which I think general fitness program might not cut. And they need a specific solution in those times. And let's be honest, we all go through, like, so many of us go through some of these life stages, right? Like menopause is such a common one. Getting your periods for the first time and the first initial stage, and the kind of hormonal issues that come in with your first cycle, right? The weight gain, and some women go through excessive acne and hair issues and things like that. And if you just look at conditions like PCOS, which happens, to 1 out of 5 women in India. So these are issues that general fitness cannot, I think, help in. They actually sometimes cause more damage than good. And I think those are the areas that we typically would want to cater to specifically create these solutions, because there isn't enough, I would say there isn't enough knowledge in the market itself about these conditions. So it's important for whoever creates the solution to understand these solutions and, work with experts who understand creating solutions for these conditions, right? And these conditions require an orchestrated, thought through, curated experience versus a general fitness experience. And that's the only difference. That said, I think any woman who initially just learns to understand her body, she can do whatever she wants to do. I think there is no science that says that we can't do push-ups or we can't do any of those things. Does it take time for us to learn how to do a push-up? Yes, it does. But does it mean that we can't do push-up? No, it doesn't. I think once we get it, right? And I think women can do so much more, and we are no less a gender. It's just that our physiology is different. So some things that come very naturally to us might not come very naturally to men, and some things that come very naturally to men might not come to us. But that doesn't make any of the gender weaker or stronger. And I think that's the whole point. But understanding our bodies are important. I think that's true for men also, right? To be fairly honest, I feel like the only difference is that the research that's been done for years in the health and fitness space is primarily been focused on men. So there is enough data, relevance, and thought process when workout programs are created, keeping men in mind. There's just not enough done for women. And I think that's why we deserve a change. And that's where Savage comes in.
And I think it's phenomenal that you guys are going about and like changing or having a different narrative in terms of like women's fitness altogether. Because as much as I am somebody who is always going to be massive supporter of like what general fitness is always going to be, because that is what I have been doing since the last decade, and I have seen changes in women's physiology for the better and men's physiology for the better, and it has been working. But one thing which has been a point of conversation, which I have learned over the period of time, and which I am pretty sure that a lot of other coaches won't be having that kind of like exposure to, is a prenatal conversation or a postnatal conversation, or like how are you going to feel on when the flu is too bad, or when you're going through some kind of like hormonal changes, if you are going through menopause, and all these things. I think that particular information and that particular education isn't that easily available for people who, or for women who are pursuing fitness, and men also. Like I think that amount of like knowledge is not there or not freely spoken out there, and that is very important, that whatever you guys are going to be doing. So I'm like super excited for that. And that brings us to this end of this amazing conversation, and I'm pretty excited to see how far women's fitness in general is going to go, because of course from the point where I see in general, I see them as equal, if not women being much more stronger or much more out there in terms of functional fitness, because my clientele has always been 70 or 80% women, always. And not because it's functional training, it's because I have realized that women in general tend to work better in community driven programs.
Absolutely.
And they also can sustain those kind of high intense workout programs, and their recovery is better, and they can actually enjoy those kind of workouts better, and they love sweating it out with the entire population. And with men, it's more strength driven, and that narrative has to change somewhere. And they fear about like losing muscle mass and stuff like that, and that has always been the case. But in women, that's not.
Which is so sad because, I mean, as a gender, you guys are blessed with it, right?
I know, right?
I mean, and that's the last thing you guys should be worried about. I mean, we worry about it, it makes sense, but you guys are so blessed with good amount of muscle mass. I mean, it's phenomenal, right? So I think it's fascinating, and I think it's a very exciting time to be in this space because I think as the youth of this country, and people are just open to change, right? We've lived in a very prescriptive way of staying fit. And now's the time, right? I mean, we've got so much exposure. Everybody's on Instagram. Everybody's on everything. You have access to the world right now, and you get so much knowledge. Of course, I mean, it's a waste of time sometimes, but a lot of the knowledge can actually empower you and help you understand so much better. I think even in the men's health and fitness space, right? So much more work to be done just to kind of help men understand advantages of things like flexibility and stuff like that, which obviously something that's always not, when you talk about men's health, the only thing you can think of is like someone just like bulking up and dropping weights and things like that. But there's just so much more to men's health than that, right? So I think it's a very exciting time for anyone, for that matter, who's in the health and fitness space, because we have the power to kind of really make a difference. And I think that's what keeps, I guess, people like us excited and happy, that to change people's life in any way, right? And if it means just getting that 1 hour or 30 minutes of their time to take care of themselves, I think it's a good feeling to be able to make that tiny little difference to their life. And I think that's what it is, I think, keeps me excited about this space. I'm not a trainer, I'm not a certified coach, I'm not a certified health and fitness expert, but working with a set of health and fitness experts who understand this really well is not only personally a very enriching journey for me, but also the capability and the power of building something that can, enrich someone else's life is very, very humbling experience. And, I definitely feel that this is a great time to be in the space and build something.
It is. And it's also a very rewarding experience once you realize the amount of love and affection that you receive when you reach the end of a person's fitness journey, right? Because
absolutely, I mean, I see all the comments, all your folks on Unlock keep posting, right? I mean, you have your own fan club now, so you should be really proud. I think, like I was telling in the beginning, right? Like, I mean, you're one of the very few coaches that I hear the most amazing things about, and people are willing to do every season of Unlock despite doing the first one, right? And which rarely happens. Like I said, when people like drop off so quickly, that's the biggest problem in health and fitness. But I think with Unlock, I've seen like there are folks on my team who keep doing Unlock like 3rd season, 4th season, 6th season, 7th season, and they just like keep doing it. I'm like, again, you're doing it? Yeah, I'm going to do it again. It was so awesome. I'm going to do it again. So, I think congratulations to you for doing that. I think you've done a phenomenal job with it. And I think you really found something that sticks, and I think that counts for something. So
yeah, I would love to get your brains about like how to scale up Unlock also, which is like a conversation I'm like meaning to have. But yeah, it's more welcoming in terms of it's the same thing that you have. It's you are planning to do with Savage, but it's more gender fluid in that terms. In terms of its programming, also in terms of like the narrative that we are trying to set. It's about feeling. It's not about like looking, because you're always going to look in a certain way if you feel better. And if you feel better, like who cares, right? Who's going to care after a point? If you
I think looks just fall in place, they just follow. It's all about feeling right first.
Yes, and that is a conversation that I would love to have, but that is going to be in the future. Till then, thank you so much for coming on the show and giving us your perception, educating us about the researches that you have been doing, telling us what Savage is going to be, and all the best for Savage. And I really hope that Savage and Unlock themselves like go out and help people rather than like growing in terms of like whatever that's going to happen, because that's always going to happen. But the major agenda is to make sure that they go out and help people and change their lives in some ways or the other. And thank you, Ekta. But before we go,
Thank you so much, Kunal. Thank you for having me over. I'd love this conversation, and you know how much I love talking about these things.
Yes,
You might have experienced it on a clubhouse conversation, but yeah.
remember those clubhouse meeting? I remember. But before we go, Ekta, can you please let us know how do we reach out to you or your professional page, or Savage or its professional page?
Yeah, I think, I am fundamentally a very private person. So I'm just going to slightly, slide in Savage here. So we're on Instagram at the rate BSavage. That's BESAVAGE. And, if you want to join our early waitlist, we are live on website. So we are on savage.club, the savage.club. And that's where you can join the waitlist. We launch in the next few weeks, and hoping to make a difference.
Awesome. And I think by the time this is being released, it's going to be the first week of December. So I think you will be launching Savage as it is. So that's that. All the best for that. And
Much.
thank you. And that's Ekta Tibrewal. And this is Kunal Rajput, aka Subtle Strength. Follow me if you're not following me. Seriously, man. Like, why aren't you following me? I have no idea.
Yeah, guys, follow him already.
Yes, and Unlock HQ is my bread and peanut butter. So you guys can follow that also for future seasons. See you guys. Have an amazing time. Thank you, Ekta, so much for this conversation.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Have you ever wondered where the business world is headed? How the ways in which we create, market, and sell to consumers will evolve? Or if we'll ever go back to wearing pants while working? For answers to all of this and more, tune into Advertising is Dead with me, Varun Dugirala. Every Tuesday, as I talk to entrepreneurs, leaders, and change makers from across business, media, marketing, and beyond. You can catch all episodes of Advertising is Dead on the IVM Podcast website, app, or wherever you get your podcast from.
Do you like true crime stories? Do you like to learn about the people behind some horrible, awful crimes?
More specifically, women that may have committed these crimes.
Actually, Indian criminals that are women?
Then we'd like to welcome you to our podcast, Misconduct. My name is Raghavi.
And I am Nisha.
We cover themes like murder, dacoity, drug trafficking, financial fraud, kidnapping, and many more.
You can catch us every Wednesday on the IVM Podcast Network or wherever you get your podcast.